So I'll tell you where Jesus talks about the end. It's in Matthew chapter 24. And so we're just going to pull a little passage out, read this little passage, and I'm going to kind of build my case based on that. So here we are, we're in Matthew chapter 24, verse 34. He says this, "Assuredly I say to you, this generation will by no means pass away until all these things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will by no means pass away. But of that day and hour no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah were, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days before the flood they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered the ark, and did not know until the flood came and took them all away, so also will be the coming of the Son of Man." And so we look at that verse. There's a lot in that verse, but let me begin with this. He says, here's when the end's going to be. The end is going to be when he returns. So here's what we know about this story. The first coming of Christ was not the end. The first coming of Christ was the middle. Actually, that ends up being the middle, the critical turning. It's the turning point. And the end will be, it's pretty clear here, right? He says heaven and earth will pass away, but you're not going to see it until he, the Son of Man, returns. And he's going to come at a surprising time. That's the second thing. You don't know when he is coming. Isn't that what he said? How many people know? No one on earth knows. He says no one knows this. The only one that knows this is the Father in heaven. The angels don't even know this. So here's my question. Why do people keep predicting the end? Why do they keep predicting the time which Jesus is going to come? They've been doing it for centuries. Centuries. You can go look it up online. There are hundreds of predictions. Guess how many of them have been right? None! They haven't been right. You know that because you're still here, right? You kind of know that. I mean, all the pseudo-Christian organizations have done it. The JWs did it, and the Mormons did it, and the Latter-day Saints, they all had set dates, and those dates have come and gone. Why do we think that we're possibly going to know the day and the hour when Jesus said no one knows it, even the angels? If the angels don't know it, you're not going to know it. So there's a lot of funny stories in this, but I'm going to tell you just one about this. So in 1988, which the Church of the Rock was only a year old back then, but in 1988, there was this guy, he wrote a best-selling book, and it was called 88 Reasons Why the Rapture Will Happen in 1988. And his name was Edgar Weisnot. And the reason people took him seriously was he was an aerospace engineer for NASA. And he wrote this book, and he said that Jesus was going to return, or the rapture was going to come, was the way he put it, on September 13th, 1988. Anybody know what happened on September 13th, 1988? Nothing happened. So he wrote a second book, no joke, 89 Reasons Why the Rapture is in 1989. You know, you can only do that so many years in a row before people will stop taking you seriously. And of course, he died 20-some years ago. He's long gone. And so here's the mistake we make again and again. We somehow think we're going to be able to figure it out. You cannot figure it out, so stop trying and stop listening. You know that he sold 4.5 million copies of that book? And you know that he sent out 250,000 of them free to pastors? I got one in little old Winnipeg. I got one of these books. I was so happy because it gave me something to preach on. And I told my congregation that, you know what, we'd still be here on the 14th. And I showed them this very verse that we're reading here today.